Lake Lanier hosts between 8 and 10 million visitors each year. It has 68 parks and recreation areas, 122 campgrounds with more than 1,200 campsites, and it also has 10 full-service marinas with restaurants, gas docks, pump-out stations, and boat storage. Along with its impressive popularity comes the risk of accidents. Since its creation, there have been nearly 700 deaths. About 200 of those deaths have occurred since 1994, and at least 27 of those victims have never been found. While there are many instances of people drowning, there are also reports of freak accidents, missing persons, and inexplicable tragedies such as boats randomly going up into flames. The lake's dark history stretches back long before its creation, and it gives way for stories of hauntings and tragedies. Is Lake Lanier haunted, or is it just unlucky? My name is Ashton, and welcome to the Haunted Corner. The dark history of Lake Lanier is something that has fascinated and horrified many people around the world. It is the largest lake in the state of Georgia at 26 miles long, with more than 692 miles of shoreline, covering more than 39,000 acres of water. It reaches depths as great as 211 feet near the Beaufort Dam. Located in the foothills of the northern Georgia mountains, this man-made lake has quite the sordid past. It has also been used as the background for the show Ozark. To really dive into the history of the lake, we have to start at the beginning. Prior to 1956, Oscarsville, Georgia was a thriving Black farming community made up of more than 1,000 residents. Many of the residents were formerly enslaved people who owned their own land and lived peacefully until one day in September of 1912. On September 5th of that year, a 22-year-old white woman named Ellen Grice claimed 2 Black men tried to rape her, but were unsuccessful when her mother scared them away. On September 12th of the same year, an 18-year-old white woman named May Crow was raped and murdered near Browns Bridge on the banks of the Chattahoochee River. The crime was inevitably pinned on 4 young Black people who just happened to live nearby at the time. They were 16-year-old Ernest Knox, his 18-year-old cousin, Oscar Daniel, 22-year-old Trussie, also known as Jane Daniel, who was Oscar's sister, and 24-year-old Robert Edwards. Ernest Knox eventually confessed to the crime. However, it was later reported that he was coerced to confess after they set up a mock lynching to show him what would happen to him if he didn't confess. That night, while they were sitting in the jail, the sheriff left one deputy to supervise them. A white mob invaded the jail cell of Robert Edwards. He was beaten, shot, dragged through the streets behind a wagon, and hanged from a telephone pole just outside the courthouse in Cumming, Georgia. In October, a jury took a little over an hour to convict Ernest Knox and Oscar Daniel for May Crow's rape and murder. Trussie Daniel's charges were dismissed. Half of the county's residents gathered to watch the 2 teenage boys be hanged. Mind you, public hangings were still illegal at that time, or they were supposed to be. It's widely believed that Edwards, Knox, and Daniel were innocent of the crime. The death of May Crow, as well as the lynching of Robert Edwards, Ernest Knox, and Oscar Daniel, only fueled the hatred within the community. White mobs known as night riders went door to door with torches and guns, burning down Black churches and businesses and demanding that Black residents of Forsyth County vacate immediately. The residents quickly abandoned their land, their crops, their homes, and most of their belongings, and the whites picked over and pillaged what remained. When all was said and done, there was only a handful of Black people left in the county, and they all worked on the same farm owned by a white man. To this day, there remains only a 4.4% Black population in Forsyth County. In 1946, the United States Army Corps of Engineers was charged with the task of building a dam on the Chattahoochee River. The hope was that the dam would create a reservoir that would provide hydroelectricity navigation and flood control of the river. The lake would also serve as a water supply for nearby Atlanta. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers began to offer property owners money for their land, approximately $30 per acre. It is believed that between 250 and 700 families sold their land at this time, and most would live to regret the sale. Construction on the Beaufort Dam began on March 1, 1950. It took 6 years and cost $45 million to complete. By 1956, the waters of the Chattahoochee River began to fill the once dry terrain and wash away what was left of Oscarsville. As their land filled with water, locals jammed the roads and bridges to watch as history vanished before their eyes. In addition to the homes that were sold and removed to make way for the lake, there were also businesses, churches, farms, roads, a racetrack, and several cemeteries. If the buildings could not be relocated, they were burnt down to the foundations. Trees were left standing as long as they were at least 35 feet below the level of the lake. It was claimed that all of the graves and bodies were relocated. However, according to an investigation done on the Discovery Channel show Expedition X, there are 20 cemeteries with headstones and graves at the bottom of the lake, giving way to theories of the lake being haunted. During an extreme drought in 2001, where the water levels dropped 15 feet, the top of the stands from the Looper Speedway were visible. So they just flooded this entire town and the history along with it and expected it to be fine. It's definitely not haunted, right? Or is it haunted? Many people theorize that because of the dark history, the lake is definitely haunted. Some people have reported that while swimming, they felt someone grabbing their legs from underneath the water. A well-known diver named Buck Buchanan, who has gone on several dives at Lake Lanier, claims that, quote, he's reached out in the dark and felt an arm or a leg that doesn't move, end quote. He also went on to say that, quote, nobody has been able to lay them to rest. They're on the bottom of Lake Lanier. Hopefully you find them before they find you, end quote. Some people believe that the haunting of the lake is from the many graves that were never relocated prior to the lake's creation. Others claim that the haunting is due to the 27 missing people that were never recovered from the lake. There are many ghost stories surrounding the lake's history. The most popular story surrounds two young friends named Delia Mae Parker Young and Susie Roberts, who were spotted leaving a dance in 1958. The girls supposedly stopped to get gas, which they skipped out on paying. And later on, their car skidded off a bridge while they were crossing the lake, and the girls were never seen again. Until the next year, a fisherman came across a badly decomposed body floating near one of the bridges. It wasn't until 1990, over 3 decades later, that officials discovered a 1950s Ford sedan with remains belonging to Roberts. That meant that the body found way back in 1959 must have belonged to her friend, Delia Mae Parker Young. Locals would go on to claim that they had seen Delia Mae wearing the blue dress that she had borrowed that night from Roberts, wandering near the bridge. The story is that she snatches unsuspecting lakegoers and drags them to the bottom with her handless arms. Another ghost story involves a mysterious raft that has been seen slowly floating through the water at night. The raft is said to be navigated by a ghostly apparition and was once seen by two fishermen who jumped into the water after seeing the ghostly figure. Over the years, divers have reported creepy sightings beneath the murky waters, and some even tell stories of huge catfish as big as a Volkswagen. Others have claimed to hear church bells from the church that was left behind when the lake was created. Many accidents occur on the lake each year due to operator error, alcohol consumption, or strange mysteries that no one can explain. There have been boat explosions, countless drownings and near drownings, and during the summer of 2012, the stepson of rapper Usher died after sustaining injuries by a jet ski that ran him over while he was inner tubing. Later that same summer, two Gwinnett County brothers were killed when the pontoon boat they were on was struck by another boat. The driver of that boat was eventually found guilty of boating under the influence, reckless operation of a vessel, and a failure to render aid after hitting the pontoon, which is similar to a hit and run. According to the Gainesville Times, in 2022 alone, there have been at least 6 deaths at Lake Lanier. On May 29th, Jose Camarillo, age 19 of Stone Mountain, had been swimming at Margaritaville when he went under and his friends couldn't find him. On June 18th, Kion Ding, age 29 of Atlanta, jumped off a rented pontoon boat in the area of Holiday Marina. On June 29th, Rocky Hammond, age 61 of Gainesville, drowned near Longwood Park in Gainesville. On June 24th, an unidentified man drowned in Lake Lanier at Van's Tavern Park in Forsyth County. On July 2nd, France Scott, age 48 of Gainesville, was pulled from Lake Lanier at a home in the Little River area. And on August 28th, Adelso Bareilles, age 21 of Kansas City, had been swimming with 2 friends at Old Federal Campground when he began struggling and went under. Since its creation, accidents, drownings, and mysterious deaths have been prevalent at Lake Lanier, and it really makes you wonder if the dark history of the lake has anything to do with the rising number of deaths that occur at the lake each year. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of The Haunted Corner. The sources for today's episode will be listed in the show notes and also on the blog at www.thehauntedcorner.com. Check out episode 2, available now wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. For early access to next week's episodes, please visit patreon.com/thehauntedcorner and join at the $5 per month level. You'll have access to upcoming episodes 1 week early, Patreon exclusive content, an exclusive The Haunted Corner sticker, and more. Follow us on social media at The Haunted Corner on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. If you have a case suggestion, please send it to thehauntedcorner@gmail.com or submit it through the website. Until next time, be kind and take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next week.